So we are all luggaged up. We are going to basically take this big GS1200 out for its first ride with me. We're going to pop down to Plymouth. We're going to take the camera with us as well, do a bit of 4K recording. I'm going to pop to BMW in Plymouth, see what their new range of bikes is like. I'm going to pop into Harley as well. I might film that. And we'll pop into Triumph. I might even film that. We'll see how much battery power is left. But as you can see, we've got the GS all luggaged up. I've got these very luggage pannier bags as well. I'm hoping you've seen the video on that. I'll just show you what they're all about ever so quickly. You effectively just take the bag as is and you pop it in. And close up the bag, and basically that is everything I need for today in that bag there. There's another bag in the other side as well. I just wanted to quickly show you those Vario dedicated pannier bags. About 60 quid a set, I think. As I said, I've done a review on those, showing you the unboxing, what they do, all that kind of stuff. If you're interested in that, I'll stick a link in up here throughout this video somewhere. But for now, it is a glorious, almost summer day. It's middle of April, I believe. And we're going to take the GS out for its first ride with me. We're going to check out this sat-nav. We're going to do some recording, as I said. So come along and we'll have a little ride and see what we think of this big old girl. Second time around. So here we are then on the mighty 1200GS again. The odd thing is I actually made the first video on this bike just over there somewhere about 2 years ago, was it? 18 months, something like that. Just make sure that camera is actually doing what it's supposed to do. So we're going to basically pop out today and have a little get to know you, shall we say, on the GS. Check out this sat-nav, this Motorrad 3 navigator, which the one thing I'll say straight away is you can't see it. Oh, that's what you need, isn't it? A bloody great big tractor in your way. Full of manure as well, marvellous. The other thing to note straight away as well is exactly the same thing as I noticed on the first GS I ever owned. It's a big old girl. It really is a monster of a bike. I don't mind that. I mean, I've had a lot of bikes in my time, as I'm sure you guys know. We've reviewed a lot of bikes, and I don't mind a big bike anymore. You know, I actually quite like it, but it does take some getting used to. I mean, I've just climbed off the Triumph Speed Triple, the blue one, which I'm hoping you've seen the videos on. We've gotten rid of that. Well, I say gotten rid of it. We sold it because, for one reason or another, I just didn't have the room, basically, which was such a shame because it was a stunning bike. And it's a stunning bike, and I didn't get anywhere near as much as I should have done for it, truth be told. But it is a buyer's market when it comes to motorcycles, pretty much always. So anyway, back to the GS. Yeah, we're fully luggaged up today, which I didn't actually have on the first GS. I had the panniers, as you know, if you've seen that video, but I didn't have the top box. I'm not a great lover of top boxes, as I'm sure you know, again, if you've been watching the channel a while. It came with one, so I'm using it, basically. We've also done a review on the pannier bags as well from Great Biker Gear, I think it's called, the company off eBay. I've dropped links in that description for that video. I'll pop that on the top right hand corner if you're interested in some bags for your luggage. Anyway, we're going to go out today, as I said, and get used to this bike, see how we feel about it and see what the general overview is. And have I changed my mind since I owned the 2010? Now, bear in mind this one is 4 years older, but in some respects maybe a little bit better because it's got the sat nav and it's got the sergeant seat, which I have to say straight off the bat is bloody comfortable. So I wonder if you guys can actually still hear me with the amount of wind that's actually on the bike. But saying that, this screen is actually really, really good. I can actually hear myself talking, which I couldn't do obviously on the 200. All I could hear was a little wind noise. So the screen does work well, although because it's tinted, it gives you a kind of a weird wavy look through the windscreen, which I don't actually like looking through a windscreen necessarily. If it was a bit higher it wouldn't be so bad, but it's right literally in my eye line. These little Touratech, I think they are, these extenders for the hand grips as well here, well, the hand protectors as it were, they're kind of useful because I remember I had some problems with these exact same gloves on my last GS where the wind was coming over the top of these hand protectors and it was making my wrists really cold, which was quite annoying on a longer ride. But these actually take it up and over the wrist, which, yeah, that's pretty good. Would definitely recommend a set if you suffer from that problem. It's just such a joy to ride the GS, I have to say. I mean, even though I did slate it a little bit in my first ever GS review, I mean, I respect it, and I said in that review that I thought it did what it's supposed to do incredibly well compared to pretty much every other touring bike. It's just at the time it wasn't necessarily for me because I didn't find it very exciting. But since then, of course, I've had the Multistrada 1200 DVT, 160 something horsepower, and I've realised that you know, as I said in my last video for that, I don't need that kind of power. I've also had the 2-owner V4, 170 horsepower, and I've realised I'm 56 this year. I don't need to be the fastest bike on the road, but I do need to have a little bit of comfort, and this affords all of that. You know, it's incredibly practical, although rather large, which is fine. It's like anything, once it's rolling, you know, you don't really notice how big it is. It's just another bike, you know. But just getting on it, I have to stand on the front peg just to hook my leg over it, especially when it's got luggage, of course, because you've got to try and kind of miss all the luggage so you don't clack your foot into it and damage it anymore, because I've never seen a GS that didn't have dents and boot marks all over the luggage. It's just one of those things, isn't it? The one thing I'll say about this Motorrad 3 Navigator thing, it's a nice little setup, and it does the whole points of interest, and it does the postcode thing as well, which isn't bad considering its age, but you can't bloody see it. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I can just about faintly make out a map on there. Apart from that, I can't see a bloody thing. I'm wondering if I can heighten the brightness, as in, you know, turn up the brightness on it, but I haven't gone through all the settings yet. We'll have a look into that at some point, because at the moment that is absolutely bloody useless to me. I can't see a thing. I can't see where I'm going, where I've been, and where I'm supposed to be. See, these days I'm kind of quite happy just cruising along at 60 miles an hour, you know, not stressing the engine at all, and just, you know, not rushing to get to the destination, but enjoying the trip. You know, that's one thing you get in later life, I think. Whereas before, in most of my kind of biking lifestyle, really, I've always wanted to have the best looking and the fastest bike I could possibly have. As I said, as you get older, you realise that stuff's actually not really that important. Not when you're nearly 60, Christ. Who are you really trying to impress? Yeah, you can have a great load of fun, but you've also got to enjoy the trip there and, you know, not be falling to pieces when you get back. I think for me as well, I'm going to have to do something about the suspension, because this guy obviously went touring on this bike, because I know he had a missus, because she was in the video he sent me. It's got full luggage and it's got the sat nav and it had an intercom system as well, so obviously they were two up with luggage, and they probably set the suspension up for that, which isn't going to be much good for me, because one, even when I go off touring, it'll only be me and luggage, and two, I probably won't be riding it that often with the luggage, if that makes sense. So I need to set it up for some, you know, single rider, no luggage, and I've got my head around that, because it doesn't have ESA, this one, or ABS, and none of that kind of stuff that can go wrong. It's just a handle at the side of the bike and you twist it and turn it. So I'll do some googling on that, see what the best setting is for a single rider and single rider with luggage. It's funny though, because I'm sitting there saying how, you know, as you get older you don't really have to be the fastest bike or the nicest looking bike, etc, etc. Still bloody nice to have it though, and I still feel a little bit conspicuous on a 1200GS, just purely because of the stigma attached to R1200GS riders, generally speaking, and BMW owners. I don't know what it is, but they have a reputation of being a certain type, shall we say. GSs tend to be owned by people called Nigel and Andy and Malcolm, in my experience. We're basically just about to head into Saltash, and then we'll skip over the Tamar Bridge on our way to BMW in Plymouth. And I'm hoping I remember how to get there, because this satellite navigation isn't showing me the way, even though I punched it in. I can't see a bloody thing. The other thing you have to remember all the time as well when you're on a bike like a GS, not so much on the Multistrada because the luggage was so much thinner, but on a GS you always have to remember that you've got panniers. In other words, you've got to make sure that the gap you're going through, you're going to actually get through without losing one of your panniers. We'll do a typical BMW style there and not bother indicating at all. And here we are at the Tamar Bridge again. I'm hoping you've seen the video I did on the, what was it, the Ducati Monster 797 the last time we came through this bridge. I mean, I'd like to think you watch all my videos, of course. Ah, I can see the sat nav, blimey, finally. Ah, so it does go brighter, look, because we're in a tunnel and it's gone brighter. Yes, it's actually not too bad a layout, really. I suppose, yeah, it's all there, isn't it? It's just a tiny screen. 4x3, is that? Maybe not even that. See, now it's brighter, I can actually see it, so there must be a way of turning that up, because it went brighter in the tunnel there. So if I can get that to stay like that, then we're happy, aren't we? So our first little trip down the A38 on the GS 1200. How was it? Comfortable, very comfortable. This Sergeant seat, I've got to say, is bloody sublime, especially compared to the normal seat, which obviously, oops, today we're in the wrong bloody lane. Especially compared to the stock seat, you know, because I did have some problems with my bum on that, but I mean, a lot of that's to do with the fact that I don't have any muscle memory from riding bikes so little at the moment. When I was a kid, my God, I could ride for literally hours and hours and hours. But as you get older, of course, you ride less because you need the comfort. I've noticed that bloody map there as well. It's been nice and bright since we left Plymouth. Maybe it needed to reset itself somehow, I don't know. But yeah, it's been a nice ride so far. Nothing really to complain about, apart from there is a big smell of petrol. I'm like it's running rich, and I'm not quite sure what's causing that. Don't remember having that on my last GS. So something else I'm going to have to look into, I guess. It does tend to smell of petrol quite a lot. I'm hoping that's not a leak somewhere, because obviously a petrol leak on a motorcycle is not a good thing. Right, so we're going to go into BMW, Ocean BMW in Plymouth, and have a look and see what they got in the way of bikes. I might even record a bit of that if they'll let me. So if you've ever wondered what it looks like in Ocean BMW in Plymouth, this is it. This is their used bike section, which I tend to go into because obviously I can't afford all the new lovely stuff they've got sat on the showroom floor. But this is their kind of used pre-owned section, which they can offer some incredible value as well. They've got some bloody beautiful bikes in here. I mean, look at this. We've got an R1250 HP. Look at that. Isn't that just stunning? I love those bikes, gotta say. There's a much more modern R1250GS as well. I love that colour. Isn't that just something else? See if we can see some prices. I'm not sure whether we're supposed to be filming in here, so we've got to be a little bit careful. And of course, these huge 1800cc BMW Cruisers that they came out with, I think, last year. I mean, that is just a monster of a bike. Look at that size. Could you imagine trying to keep that clean? It's just... yeah, it's not something I'd want to do. 1348, that's actually cheaper than I assumed it would be for one of these. The R18 first editions. You've got to have a garage for this, obviously. That'd be absolutely useless for me. Now, here's something that I have considered and I'm still considering. A nice Harley Davidson. I've never owned one. I've only ever ridden one. We're going to pop down to Harley, actually, at some point today, hopefully. I can see why that's been sold as well. That's a beautiful, beautiful colour. It's got the Vance and Hines on it. It's got the luggage. Yeah, that's a stunning looking bike as well. I personally wouldn't have one of these. I will and I must try the R90 at some point, but the one thing I've realised about these bikes is they're very low centre of gravity for me. I'm 6 foot, 6'1". When I sat on one of these and I was considering getting the T120 Black, the thing that swung it for me was the T120 Black was slightly higher, so I felt higher on it. I think this is a slightly more modern one than the one I sat on though, because it's got digital dash there, as you can see. But you can pick these up for 7 to 8 grand, depending on the year and the mileage and all the rest of it. And there's another bike that I have considered many times. I mean, that's only, 3 years old. It's 10 grand. It's done 12,000 miles, but the good thing is, because you're going to be buying it from here, they'll do the valve check for you, so that's all good and dandy. It's got a nice Akrapovic on there as well. I mean, that's not a terrible price for a lot of fun. But for me, it'd have to be the Sport. I mean, just look at that. I love the colours, love the stance of it. The M Sport is just, it's a beautiful bike. But I mean, you're looking £5,000 more for... All right, so it's only a year old and it's done a lot less miles, but an extra 5 grand. Could you justify it? I just don't know. And here's something I've almost had. I had the 1200, the R1200RS, a couple of years ago, the SE. Great bike, just didn't get on with it, so I didn't even bother doing a video on that. I actually ended up selling that within 48 hours, so I couldn't make you a video on it. The XR as well, it's had a lot of slating in the press, the XR, for the vibrations you get through the handlebars at kind of cruising speeds, and that's put me off quite a lot, I have to say, and I think it's put off a lot of people. Talking of cruising, look at this bad boy, 1600 GT SE, 2 years old, 15 grand. That's a lot of bike for the money, isn't it? And it's sold as well. Look at that, though. I mean, you've got everything you want on here, haven't you, really? It reminds me very much of the Goldwing. It's very Goldwing-esque, shall we say. Massively low centre of gravity as well. And there's the K1600BLE, whatever that might be. 15 grand. Again, a lot of bike for the money, considering the fact that it's 3 or 4 years old now. But yeah, I could see myself cruising around. I mean, if I was going to go on massive tours, right across Europe, that would be the kind of thing that I could see myself having a lot of fun on. Got another couple of R90s here as well. I think that's the Scrambler down there, and that's the one that I want, basically. I mean, that's done 1,600 and something miles. I wonder how much they're charging for that. 11 grand for a... What year is this, I wonder? Because that seems like quite a lot of money. R90, well, that doesn't really help me because it doesn't tell me what year it is. It's got the new clock, so I'm assuming it's a 17 onwards, but still such a handsome bike. I really hope I can get one of these on the channel for you guys to review, because I'd love to give it a kind of comparison between the T120 Black and this, because those were both bikes that I did consider, and I ended up getting the Triumph in the end just because it seemed to suit me. I mean, in hindsight, this could actually be a brand new bike, couldn't it, at that kind of money? What was it? Yeah, 11 grand. Yeah, that's I imagine that's probably a new bike. I don't see why it would be that price if it was used. So that was Ocean BMW in Plymouth. Something a little bit different for you guys there. I always like going in there, but it just kind of pisses me off a little bit because of all the bikes I want, I just can't bloody afford. As I'm sure half the bikes that we all go and see we can't bloody afford. That's the part of it, isn't it? Unless you win the lottery. And I think I've managed to work out how to get the brightness sorted out on that bloody sat-nav as well. I went into the settings while we sat there, just thought I may as well, and it seems much brighter now. So that's going to make my travelling a lot bloody simpler. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this, guys. I've decided I'm not going to bother going down to Triumph in Plimpton or to Harley. I'm going to make that into another video another time, because otherwise this is going to end up being a 3-hour bloody video. I hope you've enjoyed it. This has been the first real ride on the R1200GS. And as I said, I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing that. Give the video a thumbs up, a like and a share, all that kind of good stuff. We will do another video on this GS as well. As I said, I'm going to pop down to Harley and have a look at what they've got as well. And hopefully we'll make a video down there. But as I said, I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll catch up in the next one.